probably a bit of a swot when I was at school. I had really very little idea what I would do until transition year of secondary school. We got to spend one day a week doing work experience, and I loved horses, so I had an opportunity to ride out thoroughbreds at the local racehorse yard one day a week, and I think I just got hooked. And not just on racing, but on the whole industry. And the more I learnt about it, how big a role Ireland plays in the global equine industry. So I just imagined how amazing it would be to work on a big stud farm. And during, I guess, leaving cert year at school, I went to an open day at the University of Limerick. And out of my interest in this equine science course, which was very new, it was a new Bachelor of Science, it was the only one in the country. And really what sold it to me was overhearing some of the current students' experiences after having returned from work placement in Kentucky and talking about their experience on these stud farms, and that sealed it. It was a kind of a marriage of science and equine. And I didn't think again, so that was number one on my CAO. To be honest, my PhD at the University of Kentucky was very much focused on chronobiology, on circadian rhythms. Well, I kind of ended up going down that little rabbit hole. I was interested in figuring out what was driving seasonal reproductive rhythms in horses that are, seasonally active. They have a breeding season and a non-breeding season, and it's all driven by light. One of the normal industry practices every year is to put all the lights on over the mares on the 1st of December until 11 o'clock at night, in order to fool the mare into thinking it's the long spring days, and that activates their reproductive system. And this is common practice all over the world, but it means standing the mares in, looking after the mucking out every day, electricity, but also they're not meant to be inside individually housed. They're herd animals, and their natural behavior is best and their fertility when they're out as a group at pasture. So later on, when I finished my PhD and I moved back to Ireland in my role here at UCD in the equine science program, and when I was starting my research, I realized that maybe this was something I could pursue. Can we manipulate the annual reproductive cycle and potentially the daily health of horses by giving them the correct amount of light in a headpiece that doesn't require them to stand indoors? So, of course, I knew I didn't have all of the skills required for electronic engineering and using LEDs and batteries and solder, so I decided to look for a partner in crime and trotted across campus to the engineering faculty, and I was lucky enough to knock on the door of Professor John Sheridan, who is a professor of optoelectronics and is now head of the engineering department. And he thought it would be great crack altogether, literally, to put lights and LEDs on a horse's head. And you need those people. You need to meet those people who go, why not? This is an idea. The next necessary step is to file an invention disclosure. And I worked with Nova UCD on that. At that time, they want you to protect whatever you find. Not everything will come to fruition, but that was the start of it, and then filing for a patent application. And then the real work begins. Equilume was first incorporated in 2012, my dad and I. You need two people when you incorporate a company. Of course, anyone I'm speaking to probably knows that. The thing about funding is you really have to show the evidence that the technology works before you get the funds to show the evidence that the technology works. So your preliminary work has got to be done somehow, and then you display that, and then you get the funds. So I applied for a commercialization fund, and I was awarded that, and that really was very helpful in doing the large-scale field trials and developing a prototype. Almost within a month, it happened very fast. I pushed it quite hard, but within a month of finishing that trial, I was on the road selling the first products down in Australia. Anybody starting out just gets a little bit blinded by the offer that somebody's going to invest in you without thinking very carefully who they are, what their motives are, what's their exit strategy, when do they, and it's important that you have those conversations early and that you get advice and that you can trust people. I mean, building your team is the hardest thing. After getting successfully bringing on board investors, it's, well, okay, you're the scientist, you're the founder. They want somebody to represent the company and act as CEO, and some people are able to do that themselves. As an academic, that wasn't a fully option for me. There was many years when I was running everything and trying to do 2 full-time jobs, but you need the right team. And that's where, I'll say I made mistakes initially, because you're not equipped with those skills, and trying to find trusted advisors to help you choose your team is hugely important. You're constantly learning, and eventually you have got to give up control of a lot of those things, which can be difficult when it's your baby. But it is good to find your niche within the company you found, so that you can continue to contribute the best way you can. So this year, I mean, we're in about 15 different countries. Equilume has a very successful subsidiary in Australia, one in the United States. We also have a much wider range of products, and it takes a lot of time. It took 7 years to become profitable, but now it's growing and everything's going in the right direction.